Hi, and welcome back to the channel. My name's Chris, and this is a movie, or a film, or a vlog that I'm a bit nervous about making, but one of the things that I wanted to make a channel about was to discuss or get some thoughts down about films and cinema that I wouldn't normally have been able to write down or think about. And today's film vlog video is about, well, queer cinema. I've always thought that LGBTQ plus films were not meant to be watched to me. They weren't made for me, so why in the world would I want to watch them? But I mean, that's completely ridiculous. I mean, if I applied that logic to movies, you know, I wouldn't watch a film like Boys in the Hood, I wouldn't watch Mean Streets, I wouldn't watch even Godzilla, I couldn't watch a Marvel movie. I'm not a superhero. Why the hell would I get anything out of that? But I do want to challenge myself on what I watch in cinema, because by doing so you'll be both educated and can learn something about yourself, as well as about the words and motivations of people that have different perspectives and views than yourself. So with that in my mind, I want to discuss two films that I've watched in the past couple of months that are my entry into that genre of film, and they might be for you too. First up is Desert Hearts. This is a Criterion release, and this is a film that I watched kind of by mistake. It's a film by Donna Deitch. I used to rent a lot of my releases, and I'd fill up the list with Criterion releases or boutique Blu-ray releases, and then would pop in through one through the door. And into my map one day came this release of Desert Hearts. And when I got it and looked today and see what the film was about, I kind of had that feeling, well, this isn't for me. I've wasted one of my rentals for the month. And as such, it was very much, well, what will I do? And I thought, well, I may as well stick it on. If I get bored, I can just stick Klondike on in the background. So like I say, Desert Hearts is a film by Donna Deitch from 1985 that tells the story of a woman, Vivian, who moves to Nevada to try and obtain a quick divorce and start a new life for herself. And it's not long after she arrives there that she meets a much younger woman who has a very devil-may-care attitude to life, and the kind that comes with youth. And her attitude contrasts very much with Vivian, who's very much more traditional, both in terms of how she dresses and her attitude and her approach to life. As the film progresses, they grow closer. And one of the real strengths of the film is that you can feel the attraction and the intrigue the characters have for each other right on the screen. They're great performances, writing and direction that are all culminate in this it's a really believable romance. The rest of the world isn't very approving of it, given its time is very much in keeping in the period of the 50s and 60s American Midwest. But it's set against this ridiculously beautiful backdrop of that area, with the landscapes and the setting, that the viewer is taken along in the romance and in the views and all of this place all along with the characters, and it kind of seems inevitable, and you're never encouraged to root for them, but you're happy for the story to take them the rest of the way. It's a magnificent piece of filmmaking, because it strikes to me that at the end of it all, the women are probably, the fact that they're both women is probably the most least interesting part of their romance, as they have this extreme age gap. They have very different views on life and their careers, and maybe it's because I had preconceptions to say I didn't want to watch it, or I didn't think it was for me, that Desert Hearts is now one of the favourite films that I have in my entire collection. The second film I want to talk about is Funeral Parade of Roses, a 1969 Japanese film written by Toshio Matsumoto, and it tells the story primarily of Eddie, a young transvestite who works in the club scene as a hostess, entertaining guests as they spend a lot of time getting themselves ready and into the character that they are. Matsumoto in the film, I think, shows that this is an area that actually interests him, as part of the film shot as like a documentary style, where he asks innocent and sometimes bewildering questions of the participants here about their lifestyle and their day-to-day activities. And it's to its great credit that the film never veers into anything other than curiosity. Set against this, the relationships that form Eddie's life are the backdrop to the rest of the film. So while he has his club lifestyle and he has this very public front, he has a whole circle of friends with whom he's both popular and very much an integral member of that circle. Some are transvestites like him, while others are clearly heterosexual. There's heterosexual relationships there. And one of the friends that he has resembles Shay. In fact, I think they're called Shay in the film, Che Guevara. And it is revealed in the film that the beard that they sport that make them look more like Che Guevara is actually prosthetic, so it's one that they stick on. And I suppose the allegory is that while this person doesn't wear dresses and doesn't do the makeup and their eyebrows, etc., they're also changing their appearance to suit or project an identity of which they feel much more comfortable. So what's the difference really between these two things? And on top of that, we have Eddie's close family relationships. So we have his relationship with his mother that's prompted or promoted or examined in not only what's happening, but also in these series of flashbacks or flash forwards. You're not really sure what's happening. They just kind of appear every now and again. And then brings the query of relationship with his father. He has this family photograph that it's seen that somebody's putting a cigarette through, sort of obscure the face. And I wasn't really sure whether this film resulted in some sort of coherent narrative or that there would be a resolution, but there is one, and it's one that's very thought-provoking and reminiscent of other much more modern Asian cinema classics. And part of what makes Funeral Parade of Roses so successful, I think, is how convincing Eddie is as a female, both in terms of look and in personality and the way that they carry themselves. It makes everything that happens in the movie that much more believable, and you really are invested in Eddie as a character. It's an utterly fantastic movie, and this release from BFI is a real tribute to it. There's some short films by the director which I haven't made my way all the way through yet, and some writings in the booklet as you expected. It's a fairly substantial booklet. It's a limited release, but I think it's limited to like 3,000 the way you would normally expect, and I thought this was terrific. It's a dual format release as well. The one thing that I will say is that both films are, in UK at least, 18s. It just strikes me that they're only 18s because they are about gay relationships. There certainly is a scene in Desert Hearts that is very extremely suggestive. I think more than being graphic, it's very suggestive and probably does warrant a higher age rating. But Funeral Parade of Roses, other than it being gay, if it hadn't been a heterosexual relationship, I don't think anything's too overtly in front of you, especially for a film for 69. While I think it's really out there, probably for its time and of its period, I don't think it's very graphic in what it does. It does explore avenues and thoughts that maybe were ahead of its time, but in modern society I think those things are less shocking or otherwise. So two films that were my entry into that kind of cinema, and much like I started watching Marvel movies, I mean, I'll watch queer cinema again because good cinema is good cinema. If you've enjoyed this, or if you have any comments to make about anything that I've said, please do let me know in the comments and let me know. Because as I say, I'm a bit nervous about making this kind of film, but I do feel that both these films were fabulous enough to talk about because they sit very highly within my collection and to talk about. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you're taking care of yourself, and I'll speak to you all again soon. All the best. Bye.